First Russia-Africa Summit, held in Sochi in October 2019, concluded with the declaration aimed at addressing our common challenges and deepening relations between Russia and the African continent. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus pandemic, not much was achieved. I believe the second summit will build on that and forge new areas of cooperation. We look forward to fruitful outcomes that will be acceptable to all and actually reaching climate change.
Well, Nigeria is right now in transition, and Nigeria, and by extension Africa, we are part of the global community, and naturally the developments in the world invariably affects us. But most importantly, we have a new change of leadership in Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu had shown the zeal, the passion, and the commitment to reposition the Nigerian nation by taking the bullet from day one, the silver bullet. Because the two biggest elephants in our room were the fuel subsidy and the multiple exchange rates. It's a man of courage and conviction from day one. He hit the ground running by withdrawing the fuel subsidy. It was a very tough decision. It was a very hard decision, because in every climb you will find people hanging by the wayside, waiting for opportunities to cash in. Prices have gone up. Cost of transportation has skyrocketed. But it was a painful decision that he had to take to save the Nigerian economy from imminent implosion. And in the fullness of time, Nigerians will come to appreciate and celebrate Bola Tinubu for his courageous decision. And we are rolling out a lot of palliatives to really cushion the effects of the withdrawal of the fuel subsidy. It was a tough, but a very wise decision. And in the next 9 to 12 months, Nigeria will be the destination of choice. You will relocate from St. Petersburg to Abuja. Nigeria will be the hottest cake in the global market square because the economy will boom. Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. Nigeria has the largest population in Africa, 220 million people. And by 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous nation on earth, will surpass the United States. Our population will hit 440 million people. And the trajectory of global growth, as I have repeatedly said, is facing Africa. And Nigeria will make or mar that transition. And mind you, the average age of the Nigerian nation is 19. Opportunities abound in Nigeria. The Asian tigers from Taiwan to Indonesia to Malaysia to even China, their populations are aging. And by 2035, there will be 65 million global talent deficit in the IT industry alone. Russia, Brazil, the United States will suffer from 6 million talent deficits. Even India will only have 1 million surplus. That goes to show that Nigeria is the destination of choice for every savvy investor in the world. We have come here to sell the Nigerian dream, to seek for opportunities. And we know that the Russian Federation and the African continent had had centuries of mutually beneficial interactions.
Now, 49 different countries in Africa, and 17 of those countries were represented by their heads of state. And this is an event that covers almost the entirety of the African continent. What does that say about Africa? What does that signal about Africa coming out in their full form and attending this event?
Well, that goes to show that Africans do not easily forget about the past. We are not unmindful of the geopolitical crisis ravaging the world. But there is a saying amongst the tea people of north central Nigeria: only a fool will get entangled in a family feud involving brothers, because once they make up, you will be the enemy. It's a very popular thing amongst our people. What is happening in Ukraine and Russia is a family feud. The Russians and the Ukrainians are essentially the same people, sharing the same history, the same ancestry, the same faith. They all belong to the Orthodox Christian faith. And even the name Ukrainian is from the word Ukrainian, borderland. I'm a student of comparative history. I have read intensively and extensively about Russia. Belarus, Russia and Ukraine are essentially the same people. So whatever quarrel they have, we are a non-aligned continent. It's not for us to dabble into such feuds. And as Samora Machel said, he doesn't care whether the cat is black or white, so long it will catch the mice. We have challenges of underdevelopment. We need resources to fight poverty, destitution, and insecurity. And Russia has the key, has the solution. We are here for real partnership, real friendship.
And speaking on partnerships and friendships, what is the importance of strategic cooperation between Russia and Africa? And what are some of those factors that you see, or rather industries and sectors that you see possible developments from?
Russia produces 20 to 25% of the global grains. So Russia will be an authentic partner in agriculture, trade, and investment. Russian oil companies, Gazprom and the rest, are some of the biggest players in the market. Nigeria has the 6th largest deposit of gas in the world, and gas is the product of choice. Russia is a major player in the defense industry. We have issues of insecurity in the whole of the sub-Saharan African. Russia is good in energy and heavy industries. We have come to explore the possibility of completing the Ajaokuta steel complex in Nigeria that has started nearly 4 decades ago. It has become an albatross around the neck of successive governments in Nigeria. But my principal is determined to complete and commission the Ajaokuta steel project. And steel is a sine qua non, is an essential prerequisite for the industrial take-up of any nation. Any serious nation must produce the steel it needs for its industrial development. And Ajaokuta is a huge octopus. It has its own power station. It has its own railway line that takes it to the sea. Ajaokuta has 20,000 housing units. So it's a mega industry, and it's almost 97% completed. So we are here to open a line of dialogue, a line of conversation with the Russian authorities to see to the completion. And it's one of the items on the manifesto of the APC in the last presidential elections. And we need to walk the talk.
I'm actually very happy that you've started pulling in the Nigerian economy into the conversation, because we want to know how the Russia-Nigeria development, or rather ties, have been doing in the past few years and where you see them going in the next few years.
It is incontestable that Russia is a mega player in the world. Apart from being the largest country in the world, Russia is endowed with the skill set, with the talents, with the resources for value addition in shipbuilding, in maritime industry, in oil and gas, in agriculture, in trade, in petrochemicals. So we really want to harness those potentials for genuine economic intercourse with the Russian nation. We didn't come here to beg for assistance. No. We are here seeking for genuine hand of fraternity and friendship and partnership.
On that note, Vice President, what would you say is the significance of economic independence for Nigeria and many other African countries in this new emerging world?
The world is an interdependent world. When you talk of independence, there is no nation that is truly independent. But what happened during the COVID-19 crisis, when the world came under lockdown and we were denied access to basic Medicare, is an eye-opener for us to stand firmly on our two feet and protect, promote, project, and preserve the interests of the African nation. The crisis in Ukraine has also further opened our eyes to the fact that, as Susan George said, put dependency conditions other kinds of dependency, and so long as a nation is not independent of food production, that nation is not an independent nation. So that underscores the fact that we have to vigorously strive to feed our continent. And honestly, we have no business being poor. We are the most endowed nation in the world. Take Nigeria, take South Africa, where you hail from, take DRC. These are some of the richest countries in the world. There are places in Nigeria that if you can plant money, it can grow. It's so fertile. So I believe that my leader, my principal, is really committed to repositioning the Nigerian agricultural industry. He is really committed to reviving all the moribund industries, from the aluminum smelter plant in Akwa Ibom to the Ajaokuta steel rolling mill. And most importantly, the security of lives and properties of the citizenry, because the very existence of government is to provide security to the lives and properties of the citizenry. There can never be development without peace, and there can never be peace without development. So there are a whole gamut of issues begging for attention. As he is prioritizing security, he is equally thinking of non-kinetic solutions to some of the challenges facing us. Because as I have repeatedly said, unless we want to engage in an endless war of attrition, there has to be a kinetic and non-kinetic solution to the problems in the northeast, to the challenges in northwestern Nigeria, to challenges in north central, and even to the challenges in the southeastern part of the country. As I said, this is a man who is imbued with a lot of wisdom, who has shown that track record of excellence. We're actually not preparing for the Olympics, but an institution that thrives on the superiority of ideas. And there is no man in Nigeria better placed to tackle our national malaise, national challenges, better than Bola Tinubu. Because when he became the governor of Lagos, Lagos was in a huge mess, just like Nigeria is now. Lagos, they were generating 600 million naira per month as their internally generated revenue. Now, Lagos is generating 61 billion naira every month. Lagos is now the 5th largest economy in Africa and is projected to be the 3rd largest economy by the end of the decade. The largest single train refinery in the world is in Lekki in Lagos. The 3rd largest rice mill in the world is in immortal in Lagos. And Lagos is a product of the ideas of a man. So I believe those ideas will bring to bear on the Nigerian nation as well, and we'll see a change in the fortunes of Nigeria in the coming months. If you have money, go and invest in the Nigerian stock exchange. This is an insider information.
Now, do you think that Russia and the African continent could deepen their strategic cooperation in sectors such as energy and particularly agriculture, as you've just mentioned? And what interest could that serve for the rest of the African continent?
Russia has been a friend of Africa. Russia has aligned with the interests of Africa and Africans from time immemorial. They don't suffer from any colonial hostage mentality. They were one of the frontline states. They supported the liberation of most of the African continent. When the Ronald Reagans and the Margaret Thatchers were talking of strategic sacrifices and all those stuff, Russia stood by the ANC, by the PAC. Russia stood with the ZANU-PF. We know the sacrifices Russia made for the enthronement, for the decolonization efforts in Africa, from Cape Verde to South Africa, to Namibia, to Zimbabwe. There's hardly any African country that you can mention that Russia had not supported. So this is a window. This Africa-Russia summit is a window, it's a platform, it's an opportunity for us to revisit the relationship, and as attested to by President Putin. He actually acknowledged that at a point in time, Russia lost interest in the African continent. Now that relationship has been rekindled, and I can assure you that it will grow by leaps and bounds, especially from the Nigerian perspective. We already have two of the biggest industries in Nigeria that are relying on Russian technology, skills, and investment for them to thrive. So this is just the beginning. This is just an icing on the cake. Russia is having $40 billion of trade with Belarusia. Belarusia has only 10 million people. Africa has over 1 billion people. The transaction that Russia is having with Belarusia is higher than what Russia is doing with the whole of Africa. So this is just the beginning. And our relationship, I can assure you, will grow by leaps and bounds.
And do you see Russia and the African continent working more closely and aligning their strategic cooperation on matters such as security and politics as a result of this particular summit?
I believe so. I hope so, that our relationship will further burgeon more and grow in leaps and bounds so that we can work out mutually beneficial relationships. As I said earlier, Africa is non-aligned as far as the crisis in Ukraine is concerned, because it's a family feud that we don't want to get entangled in. So, and I believe that in the fullness of time, all these crises will be resolved and there will be peace in the world, and our businesses with Russia will continue.
And do you see this summit providing more opportunities and chances for leaders to have multilateral and bilateral conversations even more?
Certainly. Even by the sidelines, President Putin had cause to hold bilateral discussions with most of our leaders. Beyond that, this meeting also fosters inter-African trade, because it also gave an opportunity for African leaders to interact freely on a pedestal of equality, such that in the next couple of months and years, I believe we are going to reap bountiful harvest from this relationship. We are coming to understand Russia better, and Russia is coming to understand and appreciate Africa better because of the commitment that the Russian government has towards this program, towards this partnership. President Putin and all the leading lights of the Russian establishment were in St. Petersburg for the past 2-3 days. So that bears testimony to the commitment of all interest groups from the African side as well as from the Russian side towards enhancing relationship between the African continent and the Russian Federation.
Now, VP, on the issue of security, which is obviously the biggest issue that many African countries are facing, and Nigeria is about to host the African Counter-Terrorism Summit this year. Do you see Moscow as a partner to help fight and alleviate terrorism in the continent?
Terrorism is an issue that Russia has a wealth of experience to offer. Some 20 years ago, Russia had to contend with crises in Chechnya and so many of the Caucasian regions. Now, there is peace in Russia. So Russia has a lot to offer the African continent in terms of skills, in terms of training, in terms of knowledge, institutional knowledge on how to counter terrorism, especially religious militancy. And Russia has the equipment, advanced technology, to really assist Africa in bringing about peace in our continent, especially in sub-Saharan Africa.
And just to lastly add on that, how would you describe the role of Africa and, the role of Russia in securing security within the African continent?
Russia, as I said earlier, has always been a friend of the African continent. During the Nigerian Civil War the unfortunate Nigerian Civil War between 1967 to 70, Russia solidly supplied equipment to the Nigerian, to the federal side. So Russia is an authentic partner of the African continent and will have cause for serious engagement with the Russian Federation towards ameliorating our challenges. As I said earlier, there can never be peace without development, and there can never be development without peace. It's something that is incontestable. It's something that is non-negotiable. We can go to any land to secure the services of any nation that is willing to assist us in bringing peace to our fatherland.